Right. As you have already seen that we are going to be dealing with what is called sports journalism, and this sports journalism is going to be it's a course that would help or could help a journalist who would like to venture into the field of reporting about sports, or who would like to make a career into reporting issues to do with the sports, right? So somebody could pursue a career in sports journalism with the basic essential tools that is required as you're going to go through this. In the sports journalism, we're going to be dealing with issues to do with reporting about sports, into issues to do with interviews, and how you can compile a bulletin about sports, and how you can also write features concerning sports, and also how you can write profiles to do with the personalities that to do with sports, or sports personalities. So this course is going to equip you as a student with skills and knowledge in the field of sports journalism. Right. At the end of this whole program, of course, we're going to be, or you're going to be able to know how to seek accreditation to sporting events and to report such events, because what we see when we go to, what we normally sometimes when we don't even look for them, but you just see that there's a sports personality or sports journalist. You are struggling to pay at the gate, and you find a sports journalist is just passing through without paying. How do you do that? You see those sports journalists, they will have their tags on their shirts. How do they have those tags? Because they were accredited. So there's a process whereby, as a sports journalist, if you like to be reporting in sporting arenas, you have to get that accreditation, and then you're going to be able to be going into different arenas without paying anything. So you also have to know something like that. And at the same time, you should be able to develop analytical skills or analytic skills in relation to reporting sporting events. And when you're talking about analytical skills, we are talking about there was a game somewhere else, there was a sporting event somewhere else. Don't just come up and say that, okay, it has ended like this, but you should be able to explain, break it down in details, the way the game went about, what caused the other team to be victorious, what was their main outstanding player, what else, or maybe what it contributed to the other team to be to face a defeat, and what can this, or maybe how can these two teams do, what can this other team do. So all those elements are what we're talking about whenever being able to analyze a sporting event. So that one also is supposed to be equipped. As I have already said that people they think about, when you say sports journalist, as in journalism, the way people there's the perception they have about journalists, whereby you say a journalist, oh, you are a reporter. That's what people say. So when you are being labeled as a reporter, that's a problem. That's why I even say, if you're a journalist, you are not a reporter. Mnoabaka kunatola nkhani amatera. Kutola nkhani is not reporting nkhani. Iweyo waitenga nkhani somewhere else and then you take the story, the news, and now you are, the way you do with the information you have, it's not a matter. Because when you say atola nkhani, if you can take the atola nkhani level, you discover that it is in English, it's going to be sourcing. Sourcing of information, not reporting. So when they say in English atolankhani, which is sourcing in English, and in English they are saying reporter, which is not the same, because as we know, we have got the process of sourcing, then we have got the process of writing, then we have got the process of reporting. So for ordinary people, they don't know those things. So it's the same as sports. As I'm saying, people will think like, oh, what you need to do, you just go to a game and say, oh, this team has won, that team has lost. Then you are done. You don't do that. If you want to be a good sports journalist, what you do, you give more than the game. You don't report just, you report more than the game itself. You talk about the game, you break it down, and you also concentrate about all the personalities surrounding that sporting event. Talking about the manager, talking about the supporters, talking everything, even the pitch. If the pitch was not that in good condition, you should also be able to observe such things. So, in short, that's something we need to, as a sports journalist, you need to know. And I mean, because there's this thing, as I'm saying, before you, think about sports journalism, people will say, no, we learned about ordinary journalism. So why should we have to be maybe to learn specific or to study specific about sports as a sports journalist? Why? It's the same as maybe the way we are being told that if you would like to report, you're going to do this. That's what people will think. But when you go deep and you think about sports, you discover it's not the same, it's exactly the same. There's a reason. Right? Why are we saying this? If we talk about the news, ordinary news can just happen from nowhere. You can have a story today which you did not anticipate that is going to happen. It could just, you cannot predict that tomorrow this will happen. Do you do that? You don't usually do that. While in sports, majority of stories that are written in sports does not just happen. They are already planned. You already know a fixture. Week in order, it's going to be Man U versus Arsenal. This Tuesday is going to be this. On Wednesdays, so most of the events that we report in sports journalism, you discover that they are planned events as opposed to ordinary news that we cover, whereby you deal with spontaneous news that are usually just happening without planned. So we are going to observe something like that. And you should also be able to produce a number of assignments that demonstrate their own style and perception of events, right? And when you talk about these events in this one, we are talking about sporting events. I believe that you know that. You should be able to organize a sports department and sports journalists. So we're going to go into insight to know that there is a sports department, right? So you get to know that. You should be able to explain the history of sports journalism and its social impact. On the history, what I can say, normally we have been maybe studied by history, but we are not going to start with the history. I'm going to come back to this one later. I might maybe next week or the other, probably next week, but I don't want us to study from the sports on general history. But we are going to be able to do that, to have at least an insight on the history of this field. And you should also be able to apply appropriate journalism ethics in sports. So when you're talking about journalism ethics, you already know they are the same ethics we have been taught or we apply in journalism. When we are covering sporting events, when you are covering sporting events and also other events, normal news events, we usually, and I think we talked about the element or the traits of a good journalist, whereby you should be able to apply ethics, media ethics. So there are also sporting ethics that are needed. You don't just do things anyhow. You should be able to cover sporting events on the radio and the television. And lastly, you should be able to identify major and minor international sports institutions. Right. Let me see here. So those are, some of the things that you, at the end of this course, we should be able to have an idea of and or be able to do something. Let's start by talking about the what is called the sports desk. When you go to the newsroom, I do believe you know the newsroom. Newsroom is that is space in a media institution where you have those people that are involved in the gathering, writing, and the reporting of news. So, in other words, we have journalists, a space for journalists in the media institution, and you have different desks in that space. And the way the newsroom is usually, in most of the, in most of the media institutions, it's like a room like this one. It could be a room like this one. It could be a room like this plus another room. But I'm saying it's a room like this in the sense that you don't usually have walls demarcating desks. You have the way in the room like this, then you can have a desk like this. Then this could be a sports desk. That one could be a business desk. That one could be maybe a national desk. So everyone who is going to be doing maybe reporting about these sports will come to this desk, will take their chair and go around here. So whatever we do here is none of that desk's business. They will be having their own meetings. They can even move. They might not have a meeting here because sometimes there's noise. You will decide, okay, let us go to a certain room and have a meeting. But normally, when they are working, you have a room like this, an open room. There's a reason for that because you might need some other maybe information from another person from another desk or something else from another. So you don't have to go and open the door. So you just have to move, go to another desk and take something and come in. That's the way it is. So we have what is called a sports desk. So let's go and see what happens in this area, right? So right, the thing is, according in terms of if you're talking about the desks, you could be depending on the how the nature of the size of the institution, because you might have an institution that may be small. If your media house is small, it might be a small desk. It would happen, as I've said, that it's like a room like this one, because it's usually, most of the time, they do it because they're utilizing the space. It would happen to say, okay, maybe your desk could be in your own room. But what it means, if you have 10 desks, you should have 10 rooms. So if you are big enough, that one can happen. Yeah, but usually, it is assumed that if you go to these big institutions like maybe BBC, they should have made because like, let me say, if you know, like even Sky News, if you see Sky News, Sky Sports News alone, it's a big institution. It's possible to have maybe a room like this with only doing sports. Because if you see what Sky Sports News does, you discover it's not just because in ordinary media houses, you have sports maybe in the morning and towards the end of politics. So it's not like you concentrate on sports. If you go to Sky News, they have got a 24-hour channel dedicated for sports. So what it means, you can have the whole department doing sports, right? So you can start with, as I say, I'm talking about sports desk. We have a sports department. And in this sports department is where you are going to have this sports desk. And this sports desk is headed by a sports editor. You will have sports editors, there will be sports editor, and this sports editor overlooks, is in charge, let me just say, of sports reporters, right? So you have a sports department, and then inside is you're going to find a sports desk, and then you're going to have a sports editor. And then the sports editor is going to be in charge of sports reporters, right? And this sports editor, it's called sports editor. The sports editor is usually headed, as I'm saying, the sports desk is usually, sports department is usually headed by the sports editor, right? As I'm saying, I've talked about sports desk, you could twist it to say a sports department is headed by a sports editor, and the sports editor, he has got, is in charge of a sports desk, you would say that, because I've just put it in the other way, but that's the way it is. Because when you come to a sports department, you say, okay, who is in charge of this one? This department, they'll tell you it's sports editor. It's not the sports desk, it's the sports editor. So in terms of, you take this one and put it here, okay, from the sports department you have the sports editor, and the sports editor is the one who heads a sports department, and he is the one who is usually is a senior member of the organization. One of the one of the senior editors of the organization's editorial team, right? One of the sports, top senior member of organization's editorial team, and along with we have the news editor, features editor, and possibly business editor. What I'm saying, in the department, in a news organization, you are going to be having like editors. You have a sports editor who heads the sports department. You have got a business editor who heads the business department. You have got a news editor, maybe the local news editor. So you have got all, even when they go to meetings, they will have meetings of editors. It's exactly, because I had that experience at times. I was on the sports desk. Now what happens, I was an editor, but I was a sub-editor. No, not like a main editor. Because you have a sports main editor. So what happens is you have, because you are few, you are more or less like doing most of the job as sports reporters, most of the times. Because you get in the story, you do whatever you want to do, you give it to the editor. And when it comes in the I think around 12, I don't know, around 4, they will have a meeting of editors. So in that meeting is where I'm saying you have your editor for your desk, you have other editors for other desks. So it's more like those are senior members of that organization. So that's a sports editor is. What else do we know about this one? As I said already, if you think about sports, if you have been seeing or looking at sports pages, you discover that let me say my normal newspaper, we know Daily Times, I do believe it's it's not just one page where you have sports. You have a page at the end of the paper. You have the other page which is inside. You have the other page with more or less like 4 pages dedicated to sports. But usually, a page that talks about maybe actual games that has happened, you're going to find out that which would be just sports, ordinary news of sports. It's going to be a bad page. But now, when you go to other sports page, you might find that there is somewhere a sports feature. Not just a sports like a story, like a news. You could have a sports feature. What are we talking about? What is a feature? I don't believe you know what a feature is. Because the feature is not like creating mind. You could read it after 1 week, it will still sound different. Sports news is supposed to be 5 minutes. So you find somewhere whereby it's just analytical writing. You find somewhere where there's sports profile. Peter Ponda. Who is Peter Ponda? Peter Ponda is young. It's not a good only telling you no. So usually, because what you say sports desk, it's supposed to handle all those other write-ups about sports. So it's more or less like self-contained department. And now because it's self-contained department, the department is responsible not only for reporting sporting events, but also sports news and features, as I will talk about. And in the case of newspapers, for page planning and the sub-editing of the copy, as it arrives in the office. Okay, so I think that's another part. But let's say it goes beyond reporting about sporting events. That's the thing. So, what is the role of a sport, or roles? What are the roles of the sports editor? Sports editor, right? Roles. Sports editor coordinates the work of the sports desk. He coordinates the work of the sports desk what are we talking about? With the administrative help from a sports desk secretary, depending on how big your institution is, you might have maybe a sports desk secretary. And you know what secretary does, which means someone is going to be keeping records, right? The sports editor is responsible for selecting the events to be covered by sports staff and the freelancers. So this, what I'm saying here, is under this coordinating the sports, because that's what it's supposed to. It's like he or she is responsible for selecting the events to be covered by sports staff, and if they are freelancers, so sports staff and the freelancers, and also he's the one who allocates assignments to reporters, right? So he's responsible for selecting the events to be covered by sports staff and freelancers, also allocates assignments to reporters, and he also is also the one who commissions the features. Like says, you need to have a feature maybe about this person or this person. And also we talked about the freelancers. He would be he's also the one who organizes the freelance contributors. He's the one who organizes the freelance contributors, selecting the materials from. It's also responsible for selecting materials from agency wires. When we say agency wires, we have news agencies. So news agencies, the top one, the top one, yes? Oh, okay. The top ones, you're talking about Reuters news agency. We have Associated Press, AP. So news agencies are, I think you know already them. News agencies are those organizations that sells the news. Okay? So you might have, as I'm telling you, like at times there were four pages. One page was international sports. So what you do for international sports, you don't write international sports as a local, like in Malawi. What they are doing, you just go on at Reuters, and you select the one you want. Oh, should we take the Manchester United story? It's written by them. So, as a sports editor, you are the one who's going to coordinate that. Okay, can you go on the news agency? Maybe you get these stories about the international sports. What else does he do? He's also the one who is who helps in planning about the page. We're talking about the sports pages, or bulletin, sports bulletins. Because when you have sports bulletin, sports bulletin is that section on the radio whereby it talks about it covers sporting items. So he's the one who is also responsible for planning that. He's also the one who does what is called corporate testing. Corporate testing and making sure the sports department operates within the budget, right? So as you can see, there is a lot of activities that happens with the sports desk. He's the one who makes sure that no one is coordinated, saying, okay, this one is going smoothly. The budget, let's not overshoot our allocation. Let's make sure the project should do this. Features, so he coordinates all those activities at the sports desk. So, as you can recall, I talked about all the sports desk. I talked about most of the stories that are covered, or when it comes to sports, in sports journalism, most of these events that are covered, or most of the items that are covered, are planned events. Most of that you already know that there's going to be this, there's going to be that. It's not that you don't usually look for breaking news. So you check when you are trying to listen to sports. You usually you like to get the results of a specific game. You knew there was a game. Oh, there was this game, there was a game. I missed it. Let me tune in to listen to what happened. Yeah? So because of that, as I'm saying that, because it is supposed to be events that are planned already, it means you need to keep record and keep track to the events, dates and the times of the events. Yeah? Because if you don't keep track, you might miss out that, oh, there was an event that was supposed to come today, and then I didn't remember. So what happened? You have got one item that is very important at the news desk, which helps in that case. It is this what is called the diary. Somebody can say the sports diary. This item is like, as you know the diary. Eh? It's as any other diary. I know we've got a problem in Malawi because we don't get diaries of specific years. Eh? We use diaries as notebooks, whereby you take diary of last year, you're using it this year. So we don't see the importance of diaries. But the importance of diary was supposed to be events that are supposed to happen today are supposed to be indicated on a date of today. Events that are going to happen next week, you go to that page where is that date. So you keep track. So if you want to remember what is going to happen today, just go to that page. Oh, what is supposed to happen? Oh, there's this. Eh? So it's easy. So is the key to smooth running, because this is going to help. If you want to have a smooth running for a sports desk, the key is the diary, right? Contrary to popular belief, as I say, that news is contrary to popular belief of the news, as I've already said, news is rarely something which is suddenly just happening in sports. And as I said already, most of it can be carefully planned for. So this is where the diary comes in, as well as the obvious list of fixtures for a wide range of sports. The diary will contain details of numerous other events which will also generate sports stories, right? So you're going to have the meetings of bodies, different bodies that, apart from just the sports events, there might be maybe a specific meeting that, or maybe the sports council, or maybe the government, you would like to meet sports journalists on this day. So you indicate in the time, oh, this. You might have maybe disciplinary hearings, because that will be other, as is indicated here, there might be items that might generate news in the future. They will tell you that, oh, there was a disciplinary hearing of this maybe player. So the hearing is going to happen in May. So you indicate. So when that day comes, because when you say this here, you will go and follow up, you will come up with a story. The outcome has said this player has been banned for maybe 4 games. That's where most of these stories comes about, because they were aware of that particular event. What else? You might have maybe awards ceremonies. That all there's going to be sports award ceremonies on a specific day. So you keep a track, you record them in the diary. You might have anniversaries of major maybe sporting occasion. And I do believe that you tend to wonder when you have ever listened, if you have ever watched international, like GSTV, maybe English Premier League. I don't know if you have ever watched English Premier League. When the reporter is or the commentator, you discover he seems to have a lot of knowledge, a lot. He could tell you that, oh, this player has played 345 games. He has scored this number of games. This is his first game after. And you didn't how does he know all this information? Because it's all about, like, they have the records, it's research. Apart from that, if this diary is supposed to be kept as, for future use, they could even go and check in the diary. What events were happening maybe around concerning this club. So they could have a lot of information accumulated, and I think that one, the way I'm talking about the commentator, is just maybe I'm preempting something that we're going to talk about later, because that's maybe the difference between the sports commentation in Malawi and what we hear when you hear international sports. In Malawi, it's like you are hearing a point commentating. They will be telling you, like in Hungary, like they just want to make you, they will not be giving you details of a player. They will just be giving you, he's making a shot, like so you even did when you listen when you watch it in the English one, you never hear them talking about, he's bouncing, maybe he has kicked the ball like an elephant. I never heard something like that. But in Malawi, you hear, they'll be talking about all those cliches or metaphors. They just want you to be out of the way. And it's more sometimes it's exaggeration. I remember, because one of the games I was there when one of the sports reporters at the NBC, not NBC, at the Campus Stadium. Yeah, so I was right there in the commentation box, and I was seeing the ball. And somebody was in front of me commentating. So there was a small event that happened somewhere, but the way he described the event, it was more than what happened. He talked about a lot of things, the way he... So I said, no, this is an exaggeration. But he just want to make sure that the listeners, they are excited with the way what they are hearing. But it's a difference, because the difference is, I think we are going to learn later, that professionally, if you are doing quite another specific field of concern, small sports commentation, research is vital. It all goes to research, whereby I think I'm going to talk about it. I don't want to preempt everything, because that's not what I'm talking about. But still, you do research on the team, opposite teams. You do check on their records. How many times did they meet? How many times did this team maybe win the matches? How many players maybe, or who are the players that have been playing in these matchups that are still around? Maybe how many? Maybe when was this team created? And you take all those details. So you have a lot of details. And for players, you also find profiles for players. Who is their most dated player? Because you cannot talk about every player. But you go and check, I think in this team, there is Cristiano Ronaldo. It's just funny, I'm saying you heard about Cristiano Ronaldo, that he joined a Saudi Arabian team. I don't know if you have been following that. So I'm saying, yesterday there was a match, it was a friendly match between PSG. I believe you know PSG. Okay. PSG is a certain team in Paris. It is comprised of superstars. Lionel Messi is in PSG. So there's Messi in PSG, there's Kylian Mbappe in PSG, there's Neymar in PSG, there's this one was in Europe. So it is they have good stars. One of the team where Ronaldo went, the only star was Ronaldo. So yesterday game was flooded because in this side you could talk about a lot of players. You talk about Mbappe, you talk about when you come to Ronaldo, this side, you only talk about Ronaldo. You don't see any player, you don't even know. But the funny thing is like the end, I think it ended I mean 5-2. So although they were beaten, but still Ronaldo managed to score 2 goals. Messi scored 1 goal. So people, there is the big comparison. People still compare, no, Messi only scored 1. Ronaldo scored 2. So, but the funny thing I was saying, if you want to do sports commentation, what you're going to do, you get their popular players, so you have their statistics. So what you don't just mention the statistics from the, no, you don't do that. But when you are commentating, you take piece by piece. You know, this player has scored 400 goals. He has, you take 1 point, second point, third point, and then you post it. Then you talk about another time when you meet the same player, you take other information. You also talk about, oh, he has done. So people, you just look like a genius. People say, where did you get these statistics? And you give it, you don't even doubt, you give actual statistics. You know, they have 100 corners. Out of 100 corners, they only scored 10 corners. And they have, I think you'll be hearing about 0 shots on target. It means you monitor even the shots, who has got maybe, and even you have got details like who has touched the ball most, who has covered more ground in the game. This player has covered more ground than, so you have all those small details. Because the thing is, in sports journalism, what people say people who are sports fans and sports followers, they want to know more than just the results. They don't just want to hear, maybe to know about the end of the game. Because they might know that, okay, we have won. Because normally if you're a sports fan, you might hear, okay, the team has won. But you want to know more, maybe you didn't watch the game. Maybe you watched, but you didn't understand some of the things. So they want to know, why did we lose the game? So you need to be, that's why I say you need to be now, have that ability to follow and analyze the game. No. The problem maybe it was maybe the system. This team, they employed this is for this system. This one. So the problem was when this strikers were, so you should be able to give those details. When this striker, or maybe they were not marking this player. They were doing everything, but they were leaving this player alone, and you do that. And or you say, well, why? How did they win? Because maybe they won because they did this, they do. You don't have to be saying maybe because I'm saying you have to show that you know what you're talking about. So that's what I'm saying. So let's go back to where we were talking about the sports dialogue. Oh, you want to pen? Okay. Right. So as I'm saying, one of the most important items that is around in sports department is that sports the diary. It can be called the sports diary. And as we know, you have the records of the dates of upcoming games, upcoming meetings, different maybe disciplinary actions that are going to be taken, and all details that is supposed to be there. And the thing is, as I'm telling you that I say that most of the things, or most of what you report or what you write about are of planned events, but I've said most. What it means is not all of them. There might be breaking news as the way normal news is. Something, maybe this is breaking news. This has happened. So you might also go. So the things like when you or let me just say, any ceremony, anniversary or major sporting occasion, any story which is known about in advance. Because what you put in a sports diary, it means you knew about them in advance. It's example, I'm saying that if you have a diary, can you write in a diary something that has already happened? For example, there's today, you didn't write anything, or if you are tomorrow, you are writing something about yesterday on yesterday's page. So what's the use of the diary? Usually diary, you know about the event, that is, oh, this is the event, you don't want to forget about it. Then you go, maybe Thursday, then you write it. Oh, can we meet next week on Friday? Okay, you go there and write it. So that's the use. So usually the diary is, it records events that you knew in advance. So when you have the events that you knew, that you already know in advance, in our sports journalism, those are called on diary. I was using the black. Those are called on diary. On diary. So you could say maybe on the diary events. When you say on the diary, or on the diary stories, right? So on the diary stories, it means you know that there were the stories that you knew them in advance, and they were recorded in the diary. So when you have stories from them, you say, oh, I've got on diary stories, right? So as you can hear that, obviously, an example, I see you talk about, you see here, I think I don't have to talk about all the events that you know, you knew them in advance. Those are out there. So now, an opposite to the events that you did not know anything about, events that happens that you did not even record them in the diary. You didn't plan about that event, or you didn't plan for those events. We're going to talk about stories which are not known about in advance. Talking about here, like there's a car accident, concern involving maybe a specific sports, maybe sports personality, or maybe an athlete, or maybe somebody has tested positive of drugs, because you didn't know that this person is going to test positive. Yeah. So all those stories that you didn't know about in advance are called off diary stories, right? So on diary stories, then you have got off diary stories. Right? So it's like the language that you use is this one. You're like, oh, okay, I've got off diary stories, or which means the story you are going to cover is not recorded in the diary. There's no any knowledge in the diary. It's something that just happened. You didn't even plan for them, so you call them off diary stories. So talking about the diary alone, the diary is also vital for the forward planning that is essential if the work of the sports desk is to run smoothly, right? Covering a major sporting event can be a complex logistical operation requiring detailed organization, such as making arrangements like media accreditation, travel and hotel bookings, and organizing lines. So what you're saying, maybe one of the vital elements of the diary is, as it has already been said here, it is forward planning, because as I said, there's going to be a meeting for journalists next week. That's another issue. Oh, where I actually don't golf club. Simple. But imagine if they say, oh, there's going to be something maybe in Mangochi. Eh? You're supposed to go there maybe to cover something in Mangochi for 1 week. Eh? And maybe you are not even near Mangochi, you're very far. Eh? So what it means, you need to plan. If we are going to send maybe the crew there, how much can it cost? How much can it cost us for the week? Eh? What are the traveling arrangements? Because I even talked about accreditation. Eh? Because I say journalists are supposed to be accredited. When you are accredited, it means it's like the schools. Eh? You're supposed to be accredited. So if you are an accredited journalist, you have got an ID. So if you go to an event, if let's say, okay, let me, I'm a journalist, eh? You show your ID. So for an event, if you want to get those accreditation and other line, you need planning. So because it's the event that you already knew that is coming, it will help you to sit down to plan. Unlike this video you didn't know about it, and somebody just said, no, tomorrow there's this one, eh? Or maybe today, afternoon there's this. You are going to be under pressure. So that's maybe one of the elements of for the importance of the diary to a sports journalist. What else? So I talked about the forward planning here. I'll say forward planning. Although the sports editor is ultimately responsible for the content of the sports pages and allocation of work to individual journalists, in practice, this tends to be a much more democratic process. Other senior members of the sports team will have an input, and sports editors will be guided by the knowledge and the wishes of their experts on a particular sport. This is often done on an informal basis, but the formal planning forum is the sports desk, as we have already talked about that time. So what they are saying is most like that the sports diary will help you in forward planning, but they say it's not all the time that you're going to be just only relying on the sports diary. Okay, so there's this one. You could have this other sports edit. Sports. Let me say, you could be editors like maybe some editor, another sports. If it's a bigger department, you might not just have a sports editor as the top guy. You might have a sports editor, maybe sports some editor, something like that. So those people might also have their input according to the expert. Without the editor, you just say, okay, I think in this one we might go like this. After that, then you consult the editor to just guide it, and then you be referring to the time. So something like that way. What else do we have here? Right, so apart from just talking about the diary, maybe the way the sports desk operates and goes about, we need to be aware that when we are talking about sports, we have got a problem here in Malawi because most of the times when you say sports, what comes to people's mind is football. Well, if you Google, if you go into your dictionary and type in the word sports, it's not going to come just football. There are a lot of sporting disciplines around. And the issue is to know how complex sports journalism is. You discover that it's complex in the sense that these sporting disciplines, minor sporting disciplines, they have a specific language, specific jargon that is tied to that particular discipline. Talk about basketball. talk about golf, talk about tennis, talk about football, which is football, which we call soccer in Asia and Europe. The same football, if you go to America, it's not football as soccer. It's American football, which is closer politely. Which is very funny, because when you just say football in America, they will not think about soccer. They will talk about what I call the Super Bowl. You've seen about it. They put on a helmet and they play as if it's rugby. So themselves they call it football. When you go to Europe, they will say, no, this is not football. No wonder they will prefer to say, okay, it's called soccer. But still, when you are talking about it, for example, when you say you are just an ordinary reporter and you think that, okay, because I'm an ordinary reporter, I can report about golf. You'll be surprised when you go there and somebody has hit that golf ball, and you say, he has a shot. You're thinking about football. But in golf, you don't make a shot. You tee off. So you need to know the language, like teeing off, boogie, a double boogie, so there's a lot of language for, golf. So because of that, when you go to these big media institutions, they have specific sports personalities or sports reporters that are dedicated to a specific sporting discipline. You could have a reporter who only specializes in reporting about golf, who will know inside out everything about sport. Golf is going to be the one. Somebody is going to be specialist for native. Somebody. So you could have. When it comes to as an editor, there are scenarios whereby you need to engage these other minor sports editors, specialists. Now you need to engage them if you want to talk about maybe a specific story that involves maybe that particular discipline. But it's important, as I'm saying, that if you want to specialize in sports journalism, you need to realize that language that is used in these disciplines is not the same. And you need to be careful, and you need to make yourself knowledgeable. Do your research to know that basketball, when somebody has shoot the ball, what do they call it? If the ball has entered in the net, what do they call it? You cannot go there. He has scored. You did do that. He has scored. So you need to know. Okay, there's a lot of language. There's a dunk. Dunk. Free throws. You're talking about travel. That's for basketball. So you know that language, and when it comes to boxing, it's the same. It's also specific language for boxing. And that's why you can see that it's a little bit complex than maybe what you thought. Because in normal reporting, I know you also have faced that one, whereby you need to have experts in areas of like but the simple thing of sport, in normal reporting, ordinary reporting, there's a simple thing. You don't struggle much because what you do, you usually just get a source. You want to talk about the law. What do? Just go and meet a reporter. The lawyer, and interview a lawyer. And that lawyer will be telling you just quote it. And then most of the things maybe just say, yeah, but most of the time in sports, you are going to be involved in analytical, either you are speaking or maybe you are writing. So you have to be, you should be the one writing the thing, reporting. But now you are talking about it. So that's why you need to know that it's important to be aware of that the language that is used in these disciplines, the same sports, but this is what I want to be called minor sporting disciplines. So here it says you see here, staff writers specializing in each of the major sports. We also make their bids for space, stating which event they intend to cover themselves and for which they will need to hire freelance help. So this one is a scenario because I say we have talked about freelance reporters. So there's always a space for freelance reporters. These reporters who cover stories for sale. Right? So you might say, no, we have got enough staff, but you might be preoccupied with other events. So what they are saying is, you have these reporters that are specialized in different disciplines. So they might give an input to say, okay, I will cover this. This you can find a freelance to cover this. Myself, I'm going to cover that thing. And then you make a decision to say, okay, well, let's this one for a freelancer. And I do believe that when it comes to freelance reporters, you already know the advantages and the disadvantages. There are good side, there is also the bad side. Yeah, but if you can be a bad side, I mean, one of the major elements of the problem of the way we work with freelancers is whereby what is called hyperbole, somehow, whereby they might exaggerate a story that was not supposed to be big. They might report it as big. Because what they want to do, they want to sell the story. So they know that if we can report this story as a minor story, they're not going to buy it. So they might try to make it look as if it's a big story. When you go through it, you discover this was not a big story. So that's the problem. The good importance maybe will be they will cover you, right? Scenario whereby maybe you didn't have enough personnel. The desk ran short of sports reporters. But those particular times they can cover the discrepancies. So we didn't have enough personnel. They will go and cover stories for you, right? So that's the advantage and the disadvantage sometimes of freelancers. Some are crooked sometimes because I know there are some who could sell you a story like here with National Data. There were scenarios sometimes, maybe it was, I'm not so sure, where you discover that there is a story which is also similar to the same story on the other paper. You look, two stories, these were different papers. How did they manage? Even the headline, the same headline. How? So that sometimes it will be the same one. Could you sell the same story to this one and sell you the story and sell the same story to your maybe competitor? So if you don't do research, you discover that the papers come out is carrying the same paper. The same story is going the similar with the other story. So what does that mean? So that would be a problem with relying much on freelancers. But whatever the case, there is always room for freelancers. In most of the times, if it's a big institution, especially, because it depends on how big your institution is. How much time do you dedicate to sports? Because if you don't have a lot of time, you don't have that problem. Most sports desks, we also call on services of a number of journalists. I've talked about this already, who are specialists in their own minor sports, such as snooker or hockey, ice hockey, basketball, and others. They are usually freelancers who may work for more than one organization. So this is what we're talking about. Okay. They usually have excellent contacts, especially if they are freelancers. Because as I'm saying, if you look around even in Malawi, you discover that most of the media houses, their sports desks are not that big to say that they can have that luxury to have a specific reporter to be covering maybe basketball only. Or usually you have a reporter all the sports, they'll be covering everything. So that's where now you can have freelancers. Because you can have a freelancer who specializes on one discipline. That he himself he covers maybe football or maybe netball only. So if you can have that freelancer, usually he is very equipped because he is specialized in it. So he has good contacts, he has a lot of information, so if you use such kind, it can be helpful. Yeah, because a person who is a master of his own field you are bound to get a very good story from a person like that. You see? So you might hire, especially in that scenario, in here, as compared as I'm saying that you don't usually have a specialist in the media institution, but there could be freelancers out there to be hired. But still it's extra cost. The sports desk, we also have access to copy and the pictures produced by independent news agencies. I think, as I've said, in Malawi you have seen Mana, or even other agencies. Because what about different agencies? Maybe most of the people they don't know. You could have news agencies. Then you could have agencies that maybe they just sell not just the stories, but they sell apart from stories, maybe even pictures and photographs, right? So usually, I know nowadays they combine. When you have the Reuters, they will have all combination of maybe stories and their pictures. But you might even have some other who specialize. You say you want the pictures of this person, they will have it HD. So you buy, you purchase. So they might be needed somehow. But here, as I'm saying, you might also need to access these the copies of stories and the copy of pictures produced by independent news agencies, some of which they do specialize in just sports. The major agencies such as, especially international, as I've already talked about, the Press Association in Britain provides copy to news organization which is subscribed to their services. It is available online and it is constantly updated. The agencies provide sports news, reports of sports, events, pictures, previews, features, and the results services. Right, so you have other smaller services. Divisions also that they do similar. So decisions have to be taken not only on which events are to be attended by the organization staff, but which are to be previewed in the form of features and profiles of the leading participants. Right? So sports journalists not only look back on the sports which has happened yesterday, but also look forward to which is taking place today or later in the week. So it's like the trick. What I noted, like this is one of the tricks I noted. Like I was always new on the desk. Now you'll be struggling to write stories. There's a game has happened now. What do you think about it? Just going and report on the game. Oh, it has ended like this. So you begin wondering, my editor, it seems like he's also always coming up with a new angle of writing a story. So the one thing I did discover, like when you go in this big institution, like where I was, like editors, they usually hide their tricks. They will not tell you their tricks. But how do they come up with a good story? They will just break down somewhere. Like I talked about contacts. Having a large number of contacts is one of the secrets. Whereby you are a sports reporter, you should be known, maybe having contacts for all the most of the as people or senior people at the farm, sports council. You should be having numbers of different players. Players at the big bullies, players at one. So it means if something just happened, you say at one verse. You don't have to say, okay, let me go to one. You just take your phone. You call somebody. Okay, I've heard it is. And that person is a person that you can even quote right away. Which means you can even have a story that just happened immediately after maybe 1 hour. The story is already out on the radio. So how did you come up? So It's like, because I've said that sometimes you were like, you say, okay, we just want to be out. You are bored in the office. So you say, I want to get a story, not in by making phone calls. I want to go somewhere. So I will, you make a transport arrangement. You go to the stadium, go somewhere. You pursue one story. You go there, you're coming for the story. A paper is coming tomorrow. There are 3 stories written by your editor who did not move. He was just in office. But he has written many stories, 2 other stories. You, whole day you are moving up and down, you just written, you want one story, a small story somewhere. So how did this person manage to do it? Yeah? So I tested, as I told you, I tested the editor one time because he will say, I wanted to have contacts of this person. I don't know who was that person. I knew that because I saw him, he had a diary like this one, a big diary with different numbers. So I asked, okay, I would like to have contacts of this, phone number of this person. So he looked at him and said, and he smiled, no. I'm supposed to be the one getting contact numbers from you. Why will he know he has got the... Because I said, so one time I wanted to say, okay, let me see if he can. So it was a 3 times I said, okay, I just came. I wanted to borrow your diary. I just wanted to make copies, to photocopy maybe the pages, so that I should have the contacts. So he paused and said, okay. Then he's going to begin with it. He did it. Which means he knew that was what was his key. He was trying kind of hiding the secret to say, oh. So the other secret I noted, which is the guru secret. He didn't even say it, but because I noted, I observed it. And maybe there are 3 things. The diary, the contacts, and then playing around with the names. Sometimes you have a good headline. The names that, or maybe in the headline you could have the names of the first personality. You could make something like a very good headline. Yeah, because like I said, like this story talking about Peace. Peace Chawinga. So they say Peace Chawinga did not get the money or something like that. So the headline was, "There's no peace for Chawinga." You can see it's the Peace Chawinga, but now he has played around with the same name to come up with a headline which is very interesting. So sometimes you just have to look at the names of the person, or even something concerning the same event will give you a very good headline without even trying to just go straight. Like even flames, we're talking about flames. You can see maybe flames as lost. You say flames scorched. This is the flames. Meaning it is the one that scorches something. But the flame itself has been scorched. So flame is scorched. It's a headline that can be very interesting headline. But you're playing around with the name. So that's one of the issues. But the other important issue I noted that if an event has happened, because in broadcast it's different. In broadcasting, like a game just ended 2 minutes ago. So you say Manchester United has beaten Arsenal. It's okay. It's just 2 minutes ago. But now, this game, this story is going to be reported in the newspaper tomorrow. By the time it's going to be reported tomorrow, in the morning, there will have been interviews by managers, interviews by what people have been talking about. It means there have been some other events that has happened before that story comes out. So for you to just say Manchester United has been Arsenal, it will be like another news. Because it has already, people already know that. But they don't know who they are talking about. So what you do, this is not what the professional does. After a game, if it's coming to play, they go for reactions. Your story should not focus on the results. Should focus on the reactions. It means immediately the game is ended. What you do, you are going to ask maybe the manager, what are you saying about the game? The manager will say, no, we are not supposed to win, to lose this game. There was this. The other manager. Okay, what are this? So the headline, tomorrow it's going to come like, maybe manager, what does the manager say? Then at the end, you would say, yes, on a Saturday, this one. So it's like you could have another angle. Why maybe your other paper could just go straight. This one has repeated this one. So it can sound not that interesting because people already know that. But the reaction is something people doesn't know. Because the game, maybe they watch the game, but they didn't know that. And I think you even see when you go and watch Sky News, you discover after the game, they don't concentrate just on the game. They will be interviewing players, coaches. That's what they do. And when they do that, they might learn a lot. And the story sounds fresh. Because that's the whole idea. To make sure that you should not report on a story which is going to be appearing or deemed to be what is called stale news. Because for me, I'm saying, if I follow football, when the game ends, if I didn't watch it, by the end of today, I'll get the results. So when I get the same story in the morning, telling me something that I've already heard yesterday, it will be like a story that I've heard before. But if they interview somebody and they give the views, or even there is another game to take, so you could concentrate on the game that is to take. On the other paragraphs, then you talk about the games of yesterday. So that's what you do. So it's more or less like a trick to keep, because the idea is to keep the story fresh. You should people, because the element of keeping the story fresh, it means people are going to be interested to listen to the story. Once the story is an old story, they feel like it's another story. People will not care about it. I will really know this. But there was a game, the coach said, TV coach. So people, they are involved because it's something that is another angle of what many people know. So that's what I noted about these sports reporting and these sports desks. What else do we have here? The action that takes place on the sports field lends itself particularly well to photographs and pictures play an important part in telling the story of an event. They are also vital to good page design. So this is another element what I noted, whereby because in the newspaper is unlike in the TV. In newspaper, you are going to write your story. Then in each story, usually you're supposed to have a photograph. So the idea is, say, if it's sports, you should avoid like those images that are yeah. So I was saying that the stories that you see in a newspaper, usually you're supposed to have a photograph. Right? So the idea is, because it's sports is usually associated with action. So the trick is to say you should avoid those which I would call inactive pictures whereby pictures that are like what I call mag shoots, as if maybe somebody is posing for a passport, whereby you just pose as if maybe you are posing for a passport, or maybe you are being caught at the police station and you are taking the step. They should have, what they do, you look for what are called action pictures. Somebody was kicking a ball. No wonder see sports, people are going to be interested more with pictures whereby Ronaldo was jumping in the air, or somebody was kicking a ball. So they will, it looks more sporty than maybe somebody just poses. You see, how we are used to say, no wonder because of the photographer will tell you, can you pose? So you think that, oh, let's take somebody, if somebody's in the office, then you pose. That's dumb. But what do you do? If there was an action, if it's a food, you take somebody, a picture which is seems like there was an action that was happening. So that's another secret when it comes to. I know, when they are talking, if it's a story about an official, it's whereby you just have maybe an official. But still, if you can have a picture of that official, whereby he was demonstrating, maybe he was doing something active, you take that picture. Rather than whereby he just sits in the office, or he's looking at you just posing. You usually don't do that. You see, you can even do research. Check go in international media and look at their sports pages and observe the pictures. You discover most of the pictures, you will not find rarely pictures whereby people just pose as maybe standing or sitting. You realize that there's a lot of pictures they do involve an action, activity. So that's another element that most of the things. So it's obvious when there's a sporting event, there are photographers who take pictures. So those photographs, as it is said, they will help you in also telling the story. You have a chance to go through the photographs that were taken and select is one photograph. You know that can help you tell the story you are taking. Because if it's up, because I gotta tell you, there are some other scenarios as what happens like you have been seeing it before on TV. There are scenarios where you take all the photographs, but in that scenario you have to indicate. You have seen whereby they write final, is it final photo or something? So usually it's I know there's a lot of deceit. I've seen it before. Whereby you don't have a photograph, then you just go and pick any and you put it there. But you don't tell the people that this is not the latest one. So people will think like maybe you see the way he is looking. Maybe it's an old picture. So it comes worse when it comes to television. Like I was saying that it was happening to me a lot. Sometimes when I was back there, like I don't want to bring it funny more to times or whatever, but I've seen it a lot whereby you have a story, but you don't have images. Especially when it comes to these small teams. There were sometimes we are having a Division 1 football. Division 1 football involves maybe secondary school sometimes. So to say that you had a footage, because it's TV. So what you do, you just go and search in the computer and you find oh, there's a file for Division football. Then you see different pictures, videos. So just select the one you like, oh, this one. So when the story is being told, you will be putting those stories. But the only problem is, people who won't be watching, they'll be thinking that the image they are saying is of that game you're doing. Like I remember there's some other images whereby we're being repeating the same in different news stories. People, without knowing that they were the same image. The other thing is, there was a problem whereby the quality deteriorates. Maybe I've seen that before, whereby you watch on TV, you see the quality of the picture, very poor, very faint. Because what they do, I'm having a story, then I don't have the image. I don't because the normal scenario at the big institutions was supposed to be you have what is called a network, computer network. So computer network is simple because you have a server, one server. I'll have a computer here. I'll have videos in here. This computer server is going to be connected to different computers. If you want to use a certain video in this one, you just connect it, open this one. It will use the same one. The good thing is it's going to be of the same quality. Because I'll use it, the same one, this one will use the same one. But what was happening that time, it's like, in the editing room, there was a server. But I heard that, oh, the server is not working. So why is the server not working? I know it was working in the past. So what was happening, it means if I want to use a certain video, which is not here, which I don't have, I have to go to a computer at the, what is called FCC. I have to go there and search for the video and find it. Then I'll take it, I'll put it in another computer. I'll make a report. A report after finishing, I will put it in a compressed format. Then the report will be on air. Somebody wanted the images of the same, will say, I wanted the images to do with the visual food report. Where can I find? Oh, in this report, they used the same one. So that one is going to take my report. We'll cut it, we'll remove the other part, we'll use the images I use. Another one, what is the images? No, this one used it. So the other one will come, we'll use this person's report, the same image. But different is, when you are having a clip and you are copying the same clip and compressing it, quality deteriorates. It's like even music. If you can have an MP3, then this one copied, you put it in this one, and then you take this one, you put it in that. As the more you do it, its quality changes. So there's that problem whereby I discover that you have a first person is talking about today's food report, but you see the images quality very poor. What it means is they just use somebody's images that were used, but there was a lot of that, which for me, you would say sometimes it could be deceiving because reporters, I mean the viewers, most of them they don't know that is, and if you don't write it, that is file footage. They will not notice that it's not the actual. Usually they will not notice because you talk about it. It's more games, Chichiri Secondary School. Chichiri Secondary School is not, but maybe you talk about Nanteje socials. Nanteje socials played with the Kitakale Chabu. So you take an image, people will not know. You believe that, oh, we want to Nanteje. Oh, so that's another thing that happens in the whatever scenarios when you don't have the image. But what I'm saying is, if you have the images, if it's a newspaper, it's vital to take images that will help you explain or help to tell the story you are telling. Right. Okay. What? Who? Who is coming here? This class? I'm supposed to finish here. Imagine all this time I've been talking about all this. Can I one that's not being serious. I know people be complaining. No, let me tell you. Most of the times when you are late because you make yourself late. If you can decide to say, let me not be late, it can be possible. For example, yourself, how did you manage? It will show the level of seriousness. Because you are sleeping. If you want to say you want to be there on time in the morning, it means you know what time to wake up. So I don't get it when you say, no, there was a traffic, there was this, and then you were late for 1.5 hours almost. No, that's not true. That it just shows that you find it an excuse. It doesn't make sense. Okay. One important aspect of forward planning is to make sure there will be enough material to fill the sports pages on quiet days when there are few events on which to report, right? Because you need to keep in mind that you have days whereby they say quiet days, you might have days that are called dark days. I mean dry days. Yeah, you are coming to make us knock off, to help us to knock off. Yeah, all right. What happened? You didn't know that you had in class today, or maybe you just caught up with some other things.
Oh, I
didn't have a transport. But how did you travel? Why are you here? How are you here? It means you have transport. It's the same. Public transport is what people use if they don't have their personal transport. Public transport is the transport. People will be, they will even tell them, I want you to be 5 or 6 o'clock somewhere. They will be there using public transport. It's all about the preparation, nothing to do with public transport. Because if you have your own transport and then maybe you didn't have it, I don't think that you know that you don't have it in the morning. No. Maybe Or maybe you knew that you didn't know, but maybe you didn't plan for plan B. What if I don't have this situation? What am I going to do? Eh? Something like that. I can just say you didn't have the plan B. Whatever the case, but well, we are about to finish for the day because you already know the time. Yeah, so I'm just going through the final touches. Right, so I've talked about photographs. I said usually when a sporting event is happening, you should be conscious of the photographs that are taken because sometimes people they don't keep in mind about photographs. They just think like, yeah, these are mere photographs. But let me tell you, photographs that are taken during the sporting event can help you tell the story. Can even help you sell the story. Yeah, because sometimes when it comes even especially on Sunday papers, you have seen the way Sunday papers are. We would have a paper, the whole back page, a photograph. Without it, we just headline the photograph. And people will buy it because of that photograph. So when it comes to sports, you need to make sure that you have selected that good photograph that could help enhance the storytelling. It means you might even say not much more things because the story, the picture is telling a number of stories. I do believe you have heard about this saying, journalistic saying, which they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. You have heard about it. So if you know about that, that's why I discovered that no. If you are in a scenario whereby you want to you want to put a picture, a photograph in a story, don't just pick any story. I mean photograph. Pick a photograph because if one photograph can tell 1,000 words, it means it will even save you from saying a lot of things. If you can have a good photograph, right? You just say a little bit, little things. People will just look at the photograph and will agree with what you say. Oh yeah, do you see the way he's looking? Do you see what that's the thing? And I think you notice that even when it comes to not sports news, these local ordinary news, I think you see the story, the pictures they select at the front page. When they say, even in international story, especially international scope, when they are talking about Trump, you're going to see a Trump story, and you know this is going to be a negative story, but just see the photograph. When you just see, it's a story, a picture of Trump in an awkward scenario. Just see the headline, you see that they're talking about a negative story of Trump. If Trump is looking in a very good, the way good looking, you know it's a positive story. That's what they do. Check CNN, check other online media platforms. What do they do when they're talking about bad about Trump? They will select the baddest picture they can do. And even they were even accused for that one time, whereby they have to even digitally alter a photograph. Taking a picture of Trump, changing the tone of the color to make Trump look a little bit reddish. And people they said, no, this is not the way Trump looks. You manipulated the picture to make sure that he looks bad as possible. Because they want to talk about bad things about him. So that's how they are aware about the impact of the photograph. So as a sports journalist, it's the same. When you cover a new story, either you are taking pictures or maybe there's a photographer, you encourage the photographer what to take. As I talk about in sports, it's usually you go for those action photographs. Photographs that will show an action than somebody says posing. So it will make people feel that, oh yeah, this is something. This is action. Because this is sports. What did I talk about here? I'll say one important aspect of forward planning. Okay, I talked about forward planning. Is to make sure that you have. I talked about when I was talking about this. I was saying as the way it is in other discs. There are some other let me just say, as the way it is, even in talking about farmers, you have bumper days or bumper harvest. Sometimes you have a drought. So, in the journalism, usually they say, I know there are some other people who can be amateurs. They will go for stories. They will have a story which they want to be published, and then they will have one. Maybe they have collected 3 stories. Then one is published. They will think like other 2 stories are nothing. They will throw them away. Normally, you don't do that. If the story is not published, you keep them, because what you need to do is just look at the other angles of the same story. They might be needed sometimes. What you do, you can have rosy dry days, so-called dry days, whereby all the stories you are planning to cover, they are not coming into fruition. You are trying everything, but they are not coming up because you rely on sources. Sometimes maybe all the sources are not reachable. So what you do, you will rely now on those stories that maybe you covered, but we are not published. So you just take all the stories and then you look at the angles and then you beef up with maybe 2 other new, maybe interview or whatever, and then you come up with a new story. And also at the same time, the picture photographs, as I'm saying, that you have might also help you. And also, we talked about forward planning. What we were talking about, because we were not here, but we talked about a lot of things, including what is called the diary. So, say at the sports desk, you have this thing called the diary, and in this diary is where you have planned events. Because in sports, let's say most of the stories you cover in sports are not like other ordinary sports stories whereby they just happen and then you go. Sports, usually you have planned events because you know the fixture, you know this day is going to be this. So you have your diary where you write events that are going to be happening on different days. In June, it's going to be this. Or in this one, it's going to be this. So you have these. So all these stories that you record in your diary are all the diary stories. If something just pop up that you are not part of the planning, they are off diary stories, right? So just for your sake, then what we have done, I want to be involved in writing. What I was saying we have a sports department as the institution of media house. Other sports department, you have a sports editor as a head of that department. And then that sports editor will head what is called a sports desk, right? Those sports desks, you have sports reporters. You would have maybe some maybe editor, but you have sports reporters. So then you have a sports editor like a senior personnel who might be going to meetings with other senior personnel editors, like a business editor. They might have their own meetings. But the sports department, this is the guy who's at the top, and he has got different jobs, like he coordinates the work of the sports desk. So there are so many things that happen on the sports desk, including making sure that you are within your budget, assigning assignments to individuals, looking at the features, telling, okay, we need to write the feature of this one, profiles, and all the things. And as I'm saying, sports is not just one thing. Sports, there's different sporting disciplines. So at the top, you still have this one. So you might have reporters that are going to be assigning specific assignments. At the same time, if a media house the sports department is very big, you might have specialists who specialize in different specific disciplines, like maybe golf, whatever, maybe, and they will master it. So maybe basketball only, covering basketball. But sometimes, if you compare it to Malawi, because you don't have those big media institutions whereby they can have that luxury of having a specific reporter for a specific discipline. So in the scenarios of wanting a specialist for a specific discipline, in Malawi, you might contact freelance reporters. There are some freelance reporters who are specialists. So you might think, no. We want maybe to have a story on the golf, right? But maybe our reporters are busy with other things, and we want to have someone who knows golf inside out. So you look for specialist reporters. I mean, reporters which are freelancers. Then you hire them. They will write stories for you. And the good thing for such kind of people, because they are specialists, you know that they have more details. They have got so many contacts. They know the game. So you can have a good article out of it. Although, as I said in general, freelance reporters are not the first option. Because there is a danger to freelance reporters, as you know. Sometimes they exaggerate stories. They want to sell the story. So they cannot give you a story which doesn't look like it's a big story. They can cover a story which is a small story, but they might make sure that it appears big, because they want you to buy it. So somehow it will be that later. But there's a lot of good in the sense that they might cover up the good story because they are specialists. They might also cover you in times whereby there was nobody to cover the story. Everybody was busy somewhere. So they might help you that you still get the story during that time. So that's what you do. Right. So here we'll just finishing. Where was I? Yeah, where I was finishing is when we were talking about the diary. One of the importance of the diary, whereby it will help you in what is called the planning. But we say we have a specific name what we're talking about. Forward planning. That's what we're talking about. It will help you in forward planning. We also say there are some other events that needs proper planning. They cannot just tell you maybe that we are having this event maybe today or maybe tomorrow, and then you, as I say, maybe it's an event where you need to travel to another country. So to just tell you instantly without you knowing, you can have a problem. Because what I've said as a reporters are supposed to have, there's a lot of things apart from having transport arrangements, maybe what to see. I also talked about accreditation. Reporters are supposed to be accredited. So if you want a reporter to go somewhere, you need to make that clearance. Make sure that your reporter is accredited. It's a process. Maybe it's not accredited. So for that event, so you make sure, because I'm saying reporters are not supposed to be paid all the time when they go. You see somewhere you're paying, as a reporter they'll have a card. They will just put the card over a reporter or they'll just go. So to have that time, you need to know in advance that we're having this. Then you plan, so the diary, it will help you to do that because you see the events prior to the actual time. Right, so I think this is where I'm ending now because for today I'm stopping here. I've talked about a lot because we have started on the time. So with this information, I cannot go beyond this. It will be too much information. So at least you have gotten something like that. Although you came to very a little bit you have got. I think when you get the notes, when you have the notes, you make a sense out of it. That's what we did, and then we'll go forward. So we'll resume from here, and I'll have time to send you the assignments, the first assignments, and then I will send them, and then also notes. I will arrange them to send the notes and the first assignments for you to know what we are going to be having. Right, so take it here.